In the 1980s, I embarked on a road trip that would forever etch an eerie memory into my mind. It was a rainy, desolate night, the kind that feels as if the world has been draped in a shroud of darkness. I was driving along a remote Midwest highway, the rhythm of raindrops on my windshield providing the only company in my solitude. The clock on my car's dashboard read 2 a.m., and exhaustion weighed heavily on me. As I approached a curve in the road, my headlights cut through the rain, revealing a startling sight. A young woman, seemingly stranded and soaked to the bone, was standing on the roadside, her thumb extended, hitchhiking. Concern for her safety overtook my fatigue, and I made a snap decision to pull over and offer her a ride. The moment she climbed into the back seat of my car, a chilling sensation crept over me. She was dressed in a dark, hooded jacket that obscured most of her face, her features hidden in the shadows. The interior of my car was dimly lit by the soft glow of the dashboard lights, casting an eerie ambience over the scene. Hoping to ease the tension that hung heavily in the air, I initiated a conversation. However, her responses were curt and evasive, and her gaze remained fixed out of the window, as if she were preoccupied by something beyond the realm of my understanding. The rain continued to cascade relentlessly, and the atmosphere inside the car grew increasingly tense. It was then that she spoke, her voice trembling with an eerie tremor. "You shouldn't have picked me up. You're in danger." Confusion and fear gripped me as I attempted to decipher the meaning behind her cryptic words. Before I could formulate a response or request clarification, she abruptly vanished from the back seat. There was no trace of her, just an inexplicable void where she had been sitting moments before. My heart raced, and I pulled over to the side of the road, frantically searching every nook and cranny of my car. But it was as though she had never existed. She had simply disappeared into thin air, leaving me bewildered and petrified. As I resumed my drive through the inky, rain-soaked night, I couldn't shake the inexplicable encounter from my thoughts. Questions swirled in my mind. Who was she? What did her cryptic warning mean? And most hauntingly, what had I just experienced? The next day, as I explored the town I had reached, my curiosity led me to a forgotten cemetery nestled by the roadside. It was there that I stumbled upon an old, weathered tombstone, nearly obscured by time. The name etched into the stone sent an icy shiver down my spine. It was the very same name as the hitchhiker who had mysteriously vanished from my car. In a surreal twist, it was as if I had encountered a restless spirit on that rainy night, one seeking something beyond my comprehension. The fog was thick that night, an impenetrable veil that enveloped the winding road ahead. I was alone in my car, my surroundings illuminated solely by the soft glow of my headlights. The clock on my dashboard read midnight, and my journey had taken me deep into the heart of a dense forest, far from civilization. I had been driving for hours, my mind locked in a state of weary determination. The narrow road was shrouded in darkness, and the dense trees on either side seemed to press in, casting eerie silhouettes that danced along the periphery of my vision. But the worst was yet to come. Suddenly, in my rearview mirror, I saw it, a pair of headlights, blazing with intensity, closing in on me with alarming speed. Panic gripped me as I watched the car approach. Its high beams bore down on me, blinding me in their brilliant glare. It was as if the vehicle had materialized out of thin air, a phantom of the night. My heart pounded, and my hands tightened on the steering wheel. I was no stranger to dark, lonely roads, but this was different. This was a relentless pursuit, an aggressive chase that defied explanation. I could see nothing of the car behind me except its blinding lights, and I had no intention of allowing it to overtake me. I accelerated, my foot heavy on the gas pedal, but the mysterious car matched my speed effortlessly, never once falling behind. The winding road offered no respite, and the dense fog seemed to conspire with the relentless pursuit, obscuring my vision and adding an element of surreal horror to the situation. Minutes stretched into eternity as I raced ahead, my heart pounding in time with the engine's roar. My thoughts were a chaotic whirlwind of fear and confusion. Who was chasing me? Why? How had they appeared so suddenly on this deserted road? Desperation drove me to make a drastic decision. I swerved off the road, veering into a thicket of trees with a deafening crash. My world went dark, the impact sending shockwaves of pain through my body. When I awoke, disoriented and battered, I was still in my car. The relentless pursuer was nowhere to be seen. My vehicle was damaged, but I was alive, and the fog had lifted. My surroundings were eerily quiet, the forest seemingly undisturbed. I reported the incident to the police, who arrived at the scene promptly. They conducted a thorough search of the area, scouring the forest for any sign of the mysterious car. But their efforts yielded nothing, no tire marks, no traces of a collision, and certainly no other vehicle. To this day, I am haunted by the memory of that phantom car chase. It defies all logical explanation, lingering in my mind as an enigma, a terrifying reminder that there are forces in the darkness that elude our understanding. It was a night like any other, a moonless void shrouded in inky darkness, a desolate desert stretching endlessly in every direction. The clock on my car's dashboard read 3 a.m., and the barren landscape seemed to swallow me whole. I had been driving for hours, my only companions the monotonous hum of the engine and the haunting silence of the desert. As I pressed onward, something strange began to unfold before my eyes. The road ahead, a seemingly endless ribbon of pavement, refused to end. There were no curves, no intersections, and no landmarks in sight. It was as if I had entered a surreal loop, a nightmarish cycle of unending road. Panic clawed at my chest as I glanced at the rearview mirror, only to find the same disconcerting sight. The road behind me stretched infinitely into the horizon, an unbroken path that defied all reason. I couldn't make sense of it. I was trapped in a nightmarish limbo, a never-ending road leading to an uncertain destination. My hands tightened on the steering wheel, and I checked my odometer repeatedly, hoping for some sign of progress. But the miles remained the same, refusing to budge as the hours passed. Time itself seemed to warp and twist, leaving me disoriented and utterly helpless. Exhaustion gnawed at my senses as I continued to drive, my mind a whirlwind of fear and confusion. The night, which had once been my ally, now seemed like an oppressive force, suffocating me with its eerie silence and the unending stretch of road. Hours passed, maybe days, it was impossible to tell, and I contemplated stopping the car. Perhaps, I thought, if I simply waited, something would change, and I could escape this inexplicable nightmare. But fear held me captive, and the thought of being stranded in this desolate place filled me with dread. And then, as abruptly as it had begun, the inexplicable phenomenon ended. The road ahead finally curved, and I found myself on a familiar stretch of highway. The barren desert landscape gave way to signs of civilization, and a sense of profound relief washed over me. As I drove into the new day, the memory of the vanishing road haunted me. I couldn't shake the eerie sensation that I had glimpsed something beyond the boundaries of our reality, a place where time and space converged in unsettling ways. To this day, I grapple with the chilling uncertainty of that night, wondering if I had momentarily crossed into another dimension or if the desert itself had played a malevolent trick on my weary mind. It was a dare, a test of our courage that led my group of friends and me on a fateful journey one chilling night. We had heard the stories, the whispered legends of a bridge deep within the woods, a bridge said to be haunted, a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred into a realm of the supernatural. The night was inky black, the moon hidden behind a shroud of thick clouds. We had navigated winding roads that seemed to lead us further and further away from civilization until we found ourselves parked by the side of the road. The forest pressed in around us, its dense canopy creating an oppressive sense of isolation. With flashlights in hand and trepidation in our hearts, we embarked on foot towards the infamous bridge. The air was thick with an unsettling silence, broken only by the occasional hoot of an owl or the rustling of leaves. We could feel the weight of the legends, the stories of strange occurrences that had taken place here. As we approached the bridge, the atmosphere grew increasingly charged with an inexplicable energy. The old wooden structure creaked beneath our feet, its ancient timbers groaning with the weight of countless memories. The darkness seemed to close in around us, and our flashlights cast eerie, elongated shadows that danced along the ground. We had heard tales of whispers in the wind, ghostly apparitions, and an unshakable sense of being watched. As we stood on the bridge, our flashlights trembling in our hands, we felt it, a bone-chilling cold that seeped through our clothes and settled deep in our bones. Unearthly whispers filled the air, their source impossible to discern. It was as if the very forest itself was speaking to us, its secrets and mysteries spilling forth in eerie murmurs. Each of us felt an overwhelming sense of dread, a growing awareness that we were intruders in a realm beyond our understanding. Still, we pressed on, determined to brave this haunted place and to test the boundaries of our courage. But the ominous atmosphere only intensified, the whispers growing louder and more insistent. It was then that we heard it, the unmistakable sound of a car engine approaching. The road leading to the bridge was narrow, and our flashlights revealed nothing but trees and darkness. But the sound of the engine drew nearer, its approach relentless and inexorable. Panic seized us as we realized there was no way for a car to reach this remote spot. And then, to our astonishment, our car, parked nearby, seemed to come alive on its own. Its headlights flashed erratically, its engine roared to life, and it began to move forward, toward the bridge. We watched in horror as it accelerated, its tires screeching against the bridge's wooden planks. It was as if some unseen force had taken control of our car, using it as a vessel to breach the boundaries between our world and the supernatural realm of the bridge. The headlights cast a ghastly glow, revealing nothing but the eerie mist that clung to the forest around us. In a frenzy, we rushed toward the car, shouting and waving our flashlights. But our efforts were futile. The vehicle continued its relentless advance until it reached the center of the bridge, where it abruptly came to a halt. The engine fell silent, and the headlights dimmed, plunging the bridge into darkness once more. We stood there, breathless and trembling, as an eerie stillness settled over the scene. The forest seemed to hold its breath, as if awaiting some unseen revelation. With trembling hands, we cautiously approached the car. Its interior was empty, and the engine was cold to the touch. There was no sign of any supernatural presence, no explanation for the car's inexplicable actions. Terrified and shaken, we retreated from the bridge, leaving our car behind. It remained there, a silent sentinel in the eerie darkness, as we fled from the haunted place, vowing never to return. The memory of that night still haunts each of us, a chilling reminder that there are forces in the world that defy explanation, that challenge our understanding of reality. The haunted bridge, with its whispers and unexplained phenomena, is etched forever in our minds, a place where the supernatural and the mundane collide in a realm of perpetual mystery.